Hey YouTube, looks like my JD jet kit arrived in the mail yesterday, and so we're going to be going through and rejet the carburetor to get a little bit more performance out of my 2008 WR250F. And as you can see, the jet kit came with a nice clear hard plastic clamshell case along with some instructions. Then it also came with 5 main jets, 1 leak jet, a couple of O-rings, and 2 needles. And you can see that these are, there's 1 red one and 1 blue one for different temperatures and altitudes, and then a sticker. And so we'll be going through the process, and we'll video everything so that you can see the steps that I went through to rejet my carburetor. Okay, so we're going to install the jet kit, and the first thing we have to do is remove the seat and the gas tank. The seat is just 2 bolts on the back. You've probably done that a number of times now. And next we're going to take the gas tank off, and I'll show you that step in just a moment. So it doesn't necessarily need to be done in this order, but the first thing you want to do for sure is to shut off your gas on your petcock. And then I'm going to disconnect the hose running from the petcock to the carburetor and drain that to catch any or get rid of any excess gas there and minimize the mess that I make. Now I'm going to loosen up this bolt here, which is an 8mm, and then there's also one at the top. Now I'm going to undo the shroud bolts on both sides. Now with all those undone, I should be able to remove the entire gas tank off the bike without having to take the radiator shrouds off. Now one thing that I do like to do when I'm working on a bike, you end up with a lot of bolts and screws and everything laying around. So as to avoid forgetting where everything came from, I try to put them back into their original spots while I'm working on the bike, so that way as I go put everything back together, I know where everything went. Okay, so once you got the tank off, then there's a couple of little Allen keys, Allen bolts right here. There's one on the front of the carb, and then another one, it's kind of hard to see, is right back here. They're different sizes, but if you loosen each one of those up, that gives you enough room to be able to wiggle the carb or move the carb inside where it's at, so that way you can get to the top of the carb and get this Allen bolt and this other one right there in front of my finger. Get those removed so that you can pull this top off and replace the needle jet. So the sizes of those Allen bolts look to be 3mm and 4mm. Now it just so happens I actually had another set of Allen wrenches with a longer head on them, or with a longer stem, and so that made it a lot easier to get into some of those bolts. So if you've got some longer ones like this in the right metric sizes, that'll make the job a little easier. So with the top off, you can get to the slide. Right here there's a nut in there that you need an Allen wrench for. You take the nut off, and then there is the needle sits underneath that, and so using a needle nose pliers you can pull the needle out to put the new needle in. Okay, once you've changed out the needle jet, we're going to drain the float bowl using a 17mm wrench on this guy right here. Now this is the float bowl here, and it's going to be filled with fuel from when the last time you ran it. So you got to drain all that, so it's going to make a little bit of a mess. It's not easy to get in there with anything to catch it, but if you got something that'll work, catch that fuel as you drain it out. One thing to remember when you're doing the needle jet up here, that slide which the needle jet sits into, if you twist that throttle, it raises it up. But if you over twist that throttle, it's going to pop off the rollers and everything, and then it's going to be a pain in the butt to get fixed again. There's a bunch of stuff you got to go through to get the slide up and out of the way, and then get the the rollers back on and all that kind of stuff, and then your throttle kind of locks, so then you got to pull the side off of the carburetor so that you can get to it. So I learned the hard way, so be careful on twisting that throttle. Don't over twist it so that the rollers pop off the slides. So I've put a Ziploc bag underneath to see if that'll catch the fuel. We'll see if this actually works. Okay, so with the drain bolt removed, we can get to the main jet, which is going to be really hard to see, but it's right there, and that uses a 6mm socket. Okay, so there's the drain bolt back in. I did not install the leak jet yet because I didn't want to go to that level of disassembly. I've got a prior engagement to go to this evening, so I will have to get to that another time. I did not do the O-ring mod either, so I will videotape those as separate installs when I have a little more time to work on it. But overall, I just took the bike for a quick spin, and with the new pipe and the 180 main jet and the red needle valve set with the 4th position, it seems to be responding pretty good. No noticeable bog or anything like that, but until I get a chance to really take it out and field test it, it's a little too early to say if I've got the right fine-tuning on the jets and everything. But overall, not a bad assembly as long as you're careful and watch a couple of things and don't make some of the same mistakes I did, like twisting the throttle too much. But there it is, pretty straightforward, pretty simple.